Good morning, Cindy here, and today we are going to be talking about shade plants. So I am at the home of my neighbor who has these fabulous trees growing all around her home, and they provide wonderful shade. They keep the house a little cooler in our intense heat, but she was having trouble figuring out what to grow. She gets no sun close to the house. So we got to work and we found a lot of wonderful options, and let's get up close and see what's growing in the deep shade. So across the front of the house, she has a raised bed. They came in and put in some really good soil, so she didn't have to worry about pulling out rocks or anything. And there's quite a few things that are very happy in this deep shade. There is very little sun, if any at all, getting through. So the first thing underneath this beautiful crepe myrtle is some giant liriope. And this is just as happy as can be here. It looks great. It gives you that evergreen look, and it fills this big space, and it's going to stay green all year long. If it does die back in the wintertime, if we have an especially hard freeze, you just chop it back and it comes right back in the spring. And right next to that is Legularia, or leopard plant, and she has 3 of them here, and they are so happy. Now these are not drought tolerant. They will let you know when they're thirsty, and they'll start drooping. So she does have a sprinkler here, and she says that she does need to water these guys. This is their first year, so she has to put a little more water on them. But after the first year, they should settle in, get a good root system established, and they will take less water. Aren't those beautiful? Let me put my hand here. You can see how big they are, and they can even get larger than that. There is another variety that has spots on them, and that's how they got the name leopard plant. And they are just so striking, and so I just love putting these in gardens. Now you do want to check them. Mine at my house have holes in them because some little critter is enjoying them. So you want to come in with your neem oil and spray the underside if you start getting spots. And also, if you start getting snails, one of the problems in shade garden is just snails. So you're going to put out your Sluggo snail bait if you start having snails put holes in everything. This is a really cool plant. This is a flax lily, and it does really well here. Let me get closer and I'm going to show you how the leaves grow. It's kind of like a fan. This reminds me of the daylily. Let me see if I can get this guy to move over. You see, they're like little fans. And this will continue to spread. It will not get much taller than this, but because of the variegated white and green stripes, it gives a pop of color in a dark, shady garden. And she has several of these in here. And another wonderful addition to a shade garden is Japanese maples. Look at these gorgeous things. And in the fall, they give you that gorgeous orange pop of color. And she has these in pots with the intention of taking them in the winter, I guess. But they can survive here in our winters if you wrap them well with some kind of frost fabric before we're going to have some kind of a big storm. But anyway, Japanese maples are a wonderful addition to shade. She has some bamboo muley grass here, which is really great. This likes shade or sun, so that's kind of a really pretty wispy look to the garden. She has some more giant liriope and another Japanese maple. This is a young one here. So pretty. All shade gardens need a Japanese maple. So it might be hard to find things that will grow under our oak trees, our live oak trees, but this aspidistria or cast iron plant is something that will make it under here, and it is just a wonderful plant. These leaves are huge. It gives a real tropical feel underneath a live oak. Now this will not handle the hot afternoon sun. So if you have morning sun or midday sun, it will be okay. Late afternoon sun, it won't make it. It will not like it underneath there. So I'm in my backyard now, and this is one of the few shady spots I have. And one of the biggest showy plants here is the Turk's cap. This one has peach flowers on it, and they also have some with a darker orange. So it's supposed to look like a Turk's cap. Hence the name. And there's the oranger one. And Turk's cap can handle lots and lots of shade, and it also can handle some sun. So the situation in this garden, the front section is in full shade, and the back section does get quite a bit of sun, and it seems to be just fine. And then I have a leopard plant, and it really does fine. It's fairly drought tolerant. Mine has some holes in it, and I just sprayed it really well with neem oil, and I put out my Sluggo for the snails and the roly-polies, but sometimes they really can go to town on it. But it seems to recover every time, you know, that happens. You just clip off those leaves and new ones pop up each time. And then I have lamb's ear here. There's one down there, and there's one here. This is the Helen von Stein variety, and that gives you the bigger leaves, and they are so fun. The kids just love them. I always keep these close to the edge of the garden because they're low, and my grandkids can reach them easily and touch them. And then another really great addition to a shade garden is fern. The fern has to be in the shade, this one in particular, and this one is called holly fern or leatherleaf fern. And if I get a little closer and get a hold of one of these leaves, they feel really thick and tough. And you'd think they would be able to handle sun, but they really can't. And this one is about 5 or 6 years old, and I would say it's about 3 feet wide and 2 feet tall, and it really does look great here in the shade. And I do need some pops of color in here. As I was going through a nursery and looking at some of the things that you can find in the shade section of the nursery, there were things that had some variegation on them. And my shade garden is just all one color green. I think that some whites and yellows would just give me a lot more contrast. But it's still a very soothing garden when you come back here and enjoy the shade. It's easy and restful on the eye. Some ground cover that do very well in the shade is Asiatic jasmine. If you get this one that's called Snow on the Mountain, it has a little white and pink to it, and that one can bring a little brightness to some deep shade. But good old Asiatic jasmine, this stuff has been around forever. Foxtail is another fern that I highly recommend for the shade. They also can handle full sun. And I have stopped putting foxtail in the ground too. I keep this in the garage during the winter time because I want it to get so full and big like this, and I just haven't been able to achieve that when I put them in the ground. They just die back too much in the winter. You guys might have had a different experience depending on the microclimate where you put your foxtail fern. Leave a comment below if you are able to grow foxtail fern in Central Texas. Another great ground cover is ajuga. This one is chocolate chip, and it has these really dark little leaves, but I just love this. And it spreads nicely. I keep hoping it'll get all the way over here, but it has come along. Another great plant is the Kimberly Queen fern, which is a sturdier, thicker fern. It's the big sister to the Boston fern. And when I first bought this, the fronds were kind of standing straight up, and they didn't have any Boston fern, and I was afraid, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna like this, but I really need my front porch fern, so I purchased it, and I actually love it. The fronds do get that umbrella look, even though when you first buy it and they're fairly young, the fronds are pointing straight up, but they will behave and look just like that. This thing is huge. I would say it is 3 feet wide, 2 feet tall. And then your Christmas cyclamen really wants to be in the shade. So if after you have a really pretty red show in the wintertime, this looks really great on a shady table. I've come out to a garden center and I wanted to show you Japanese Aurelia. This is really tropical looking. It is evergreen. It's from Japan. It has white flowers in the wintertime, and it is zone hardy to zone 7. This is going to get 5 to 8 feet tall and spread 5 to 8 feet tall, and loves the shade. And they have lots of the oak leaf hydrangeas here. These must be put in shade. And this one is called Ruby Slippers. So the flower is going to have a ruby look. And they also have one with the white hydrangeas. So this is the only hydrangea that I have been successful with in Central Texas. Loves the shade. Zone hardy, hardy to zone 5. So this one will lose all its leaves, but it will come back for you in the spring. Here is a white oak leaf hydrangea. This one is called Peewee oak leaf. It only gets about 3 feet tall, and it's going to have these gorgeous white flowers on it. Must be in the shade. And this is hardy down to zone 5 also. And for those of you who love the Aucuba japonica, I have been finding they have not been making it in those really severe cold snaps. So this is an alternative. This is cast iron plant, but it has the yellow flecks in it. And so it gives you the feeling of the Aucuba japonica, but this is a lot hardier. This is hardy to 0 degrees, and it stays 2 to 3 feet tall, and it really, really loves the shade. And those leaves are just so pretty. So here's an alternative. I think anything in deep shade that has some kind of yellow or white fleck really helps it pop. Well, I hope I have given you some great ideas of what to plant in our shady areas. You really need to make sure you put in a couple of trees on your property if you have the space, because shade is a really great thing to have here in Texas. And so when you get the shade, you can now have lots of different choices on what to put in that shade. And I have either grown these myself, or they are growing, in a yard very close to me. Now, some of these crazy winters we've had is, you just never know. But anytime the weatherman says we're going to have a really hard freeze, I highly recommend covering everything with frost cloth, You go to Lowe's, ask for frost cloth, and they'll give you just exactly what you need. You lay it out on top of all the new things, put rocks on all around it to hold that down, and that gives you just extra protection for that first year when you put things in. After that, anything that said it was hardy to zone 5, 6, or 7 should make it in our freezes. Okay, well, thank you so much. Please leave comments below on some other things that you have grown here in Central Texas that you feel like we should be growing in our shade gardens. I know I have, just given a short list of all of the potential things there are. So please comment and let us know. And please subscribe. I really love that. And maybe share my videos with a friend. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.